Welcome to Before the Blockchain, powered by Okcoin. I'm super excited to talk to the man, the myth, the legend. He goes by 4 letters, Pomp. Anthony Pompliano, one of the biggest names in the whole space. What do you think in your young life and in your family predisposed you to appreciating the features that Bitcoin offers?
I think that Bitcoin is the epitome of like the American ethos. It is the American dream, everything from individual liberty to personal freedoms, but also freedom of speech and these other things. And when you take that approach, I think getting exposed to a lot of different cultures, so military helped, but also I've traveled quite a bit. And you go and you see other countries, they're not as fortunate as us. They don't get to say what they want to say without fear of retribution. And so I think it's just a very unique thing. And so if you can bring that into a piece of technology that basically is immune to governments, organizations, or nefarious actors, it's pretty special.
How did you start your career and ultimately find Bitcoin?
David Marcus actually was the first person to ever tell me about Bitcoin. He was telling a group of people, we'd hired him from Facebook. He sat 50, 100 feet away. He wouldn't stop talking about it. So I asked somebody, I said, hey, what do you know about this Bitcoin thing? And an engineer said to me, it's stupid. And I said, okay, it's stupid, you're smart. I didn't Google it, didn't anything. And then in 2016, a kid pitched me, he was a freshman in college, and he said, have you ever heard of mining? So he didn't give me the crypto pitch, he gave me the mining pitch of just like, this is a data center on steroids.
That's right.
And my father, after he left corporate America, he had done a bunch of stuff in the data center business. So I understood that business and said, oh, this is really interesting. So I started buying machines, mining, but I was mining Ether. And I've told a story, but like it goes from $8, $9, $10 to 30 to 100 to 150. And I was like, holy shit, this is amazing. And I sold it all. And I sold a pretty decent amount of Ether in today's terms at 150 bucks and watched it go to $1,400 that year. And just had too much pride to like buy back in. I was just like, whatever. And then when it crashed in 2018, I'd spent enough time kind of thinking about the technologies and all that, that I was pretty convicted on Bitcoin specifically. And then I made a very large bet in December of 2018. From there we go.
What got you over that hurdle where now you were like, oh, I believe in Bitcoin, this is the future, I'm allocating more and more of my money to it? 2017,
I started to hear much more about Bitcoin and learn about how it works and a bunch of other technologies. And just the Bitcoin, I think, kind of promise resonated with me. Like, wow, imagine if you could basically give sound money to all these people.
Yeah.
And so when 2018 came and everything started to fall, I just started looking at a lot of the underlying data, and I just couldn't shake from my head that like, wow, the price is acting differently than a lot of this underlying data. And on-chain metrics wasn't a thing really at the time. Like none of the stuff we have today. It was literally just like, why are so many people interested in this? Why are all the exchanges signing up so many more people?
Yeah.
And the price keeps falling, right? And so I took 50% of my net worth in December 2018 and put it all in Bitcoin. And I remember saying to myself, either this is going to work and like it'll be incredible, or it's going to go to zero. And like, what's my appetite?
So do you think it was just the amount of homework and education that you did yourself that made you have so much conviction? Because for so many people, even like a Michael Saylor, they didn't really get it until the pandemic hit and the money printing accelerated. And it was like very recent that they considered even the US dollar's global reserve status to potentially be threatened. So, but you saw it earlier, like 50% of your net worth in 2018 is super bullish.
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of people in our age group that grew up, and I always say that the global financial crisis was a very unique situation in that if you were pretty much in high school, college, or just out of college, you saw it. Many people saw their families affected, saw their friends' families affected, etc. And so that was like a learning experience, but it wasn't directly impacting you personally. And so one thing that we do know for sure is that the generation that was like maybe 30 to like 60, so those people got hit with the tech bubble probably, the global financial crisis, and then 2020. And by the time they get to 2020, they were the ones who panicked. And so younger people, I think, while people like to shit on millennials, I always say, I don't know a single generation that's ever been through more boom and bust cycles in their investing career. People are like, what do you mean? Like, they went through the global financial crisis. They went through 2020, which was a recession, even though short-lived. And if you think of Bitcoin, Bitcoin has gone down 50% 4 times in the last 4 years.
Yeah.
Like there is not a single person on Wall Street that has anywhere near the kind of just emotional fortitude to handle that, let alone the ability to actually hold on to an asset through all that. And so it just is what it is. And I think that the Bitcoiners are just built different. And that's a really, really strong thing because they're not gonna fucking sell the asset. And that makes this whole thing work because there's this like positive reinforcement.
Well, this segment being called Before the Blockchain, how would you describe
Yeah.
Pomp before Bitcoin and Pomp
Yeah.
after? Like, what's the difference?
There's not that much of a difference. No.
Not more like low time preference. Now you've got Sophia to take care of.
Definitely, there's probably like a little bit of a lower time preference. I think that if you were to go ask like my friends growing up, or even my brothers, I was always the one who would assign a higher probability of like the crazy things happening.
Okay.
And sometimes that's like really stupid, and other times like with Bitcoin, I think that I'm like a eternal optimist. So it was like, oh, if this works, like look how big it could be. I think most people look at it and they're like, there's no way this is gonna work. The government's gonna ban it, this, whatever. And so when you have that optimism, it allows you to convince yourself that like it's going to work. And I think that you had to be a little delusional between 2009 and maybe, I don't know, 2020. And then by the time we get to 2020, like pretty much you're an idiot at this point if you don't see it, or you haven't done the work, right? So you can be an intelligent person, just not have done the work. But before, I think it's just applying the same things to Bitcoin, and Bitcoin just kind of magnifies what you already were likely to do. So things like time preference or patience is one of those.
Yeah, I think it's the crazy people who change the world. Right? So,